Well, good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome tonight to the road to financial freedom. I am one of your hosts, and this is our other amazing host, Pastor Kurt Buckmeyer. Blessings to him tonight. I am so excited that each of you are here joining us for our third session tonight. We are excited about you joining us in this space. So invite your family, invite your friends, all those that you know who have been on the road to trying to right align their finances, right align their finances. So tonight, as we kick off, I am going to welcome everyone that is chiming in from YouTube. Welcome everyone that's chiming in from Instagram. Welcome everyone that's joining us from Facebook. We welcome you tonight to this space. This is a space of learning. This is a space of empowerment. This is a space where you get the opportunity to glean from Pastor Kurt Buckmeyer and the excellence and the wisdom and how he has put financial principles together in his life, and it has impacted me and our family tremendously, and those that who have put the practices in place. Somebody put that in the chat somewhere. It could be Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. If you've put the practices in place, you're able to get results. So we welcome you on all of these social platforms. Want to let you know that we are here every fourth Tuesday of the month. Now, in the latter months of the year, October, November, December, there will be a couple of different dates. It'll be the third Tuesday instead of the fourth Tuesday, but we'll definitely let you know that leading up to those dates because of the holidays and some travel that we have. So welcome into this time of empowerment, this time of learning, this time of sharing. Share the broadcast, excuse me. And we thank you for joining us. Yes, thank you, Lorraine. Put the practice in place. Absolutely. Thank you for joining us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. So at this time, I am going to turn it over to Pastor Kurt Buckmeyer. Take it away, honey.
Well, welcome everyone, and welcome back to our third session, March session of the Road to Financial Freedom. I'm going to share my screen real quick. Pastor Nedge is going to assist me. Make sure. Okay, there you go. So what we just wanted to do is just do a recap, what we talked about. So for those of you who are sharing with us and you haven't, you're just catching us for the first time, just want to give you a recap of what we talked about in the past and what we dealt with in January. We introduced the Road to Financial Freedom and why we're doing it this way. We talked about the fact that we wanted to walk you through from a January to January, walk you through specifically from where you are to where you desire to be from a financial perspective. And we dealt with having a budget. We literally walked through filling out the budget. Talked about if you don't manage your money, your money will end up managing you. We talked about a little bit about saving your tax return. If you just consistently save your tax return, and basically what the difference between those with means and those without, the haves and the have-nots, is because wealthy people pay themselves first. And we stated you can start doing that by saving your tax return. If you just do the math, if you get $2,000 a year tax return, if you just set that aside and save it for 10 years, you'll have $20,000 saved. So that's what we talked about in January. And then in February, we talked about how to get a free credit report. We walked through paying off your debts using the Dave Ramsey snowball method. We talked briefly about saving for an emergency fund. Again, utilizing your tax returns to do that. And we talked about the fact is a lot of times people think they have to make more money, but We talked about different athletes and the fact that it's not how much money you make. If you don't have consistent financial practices, what will happen? You'll make a lot of money, but you'll end up spending everything you make. So that's why we talked about paying yourself first, right? The Bible talks about a tithe, which is 10% to the Lord. And one of the things, if you can practice, is after you tithe to the Lord, you tithe to yourself. You set aside 10%. If you do that consistently over time, you will achieve financial independence. And tonight, what we want to talk about, we want to harp in again on the emergency fund. We're going to talk about saving 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. And then we're going to go into dealing with credit cards. So never use your debit card for purchases, 7 rules of credit cards, and how to increase your credit card limits. One of the things we utilize here, while I'm talking to you, I'm going to pull this up. So, we utilize the Dave Ramsey model for financial freedom. So he talks about initially saving a $1,000 emergency fund, $500 for a single person, $1,000 for a couple. What that does is eliminates you having to go back to your credit card whenever emergency hit. If something happens, you have the cash on hand in order to be able to pay it. So you're not continuing down the spiral of debt. So that's one of the first things he wants you to try to implement. And then we talked last month about paying off your debts with the snowball method, and then saving 3 to 6 months of expenses. So basically what happens is you are trying to eliminate credit card debt and remove yourself from the interest payments. What happens is interest eats away from your revenue. If you're making $100, or if you have a $1,000 debt with a 19.99 and 29.99% interest, basically for every dollar you're spending, every dollar you purchase, you got to pay back $1.20 or $1.30, and that's how individuals end up on the negative side in their finances, is they're not factoring in interest. What happens is the general public, or the creditors, what they try to get you to do, they try to get you just to simply fit it into your budget, right? And the next thing you know, you fit the car payment in your budget, you fit your rent or your mortgage payment into your budget, you fit your credit cards into your budget, you fit your food bill into your budget, you fit your gas into your budget, and the next thing you know, your budget is full, and you don't have any more room for budget for yourself, for discretionary income. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get out of that, okay, and eliminate that. So it's important. It's important that you're able to save up $1,000 cash as emergency fund, and then as you go to step 2, you pay off your debts with the snowball method, and then step 3 is saving 3 to 6 months in expenses. Now, if any of you follow the Dave Ramsey model, he's not really keen on credit cards. He's not keen on credit at all. If you know his story, he got himself into serious debt. And once he got into debt, and once he worked his way out of debt, he advocates and he teaches people not to get into debt. Now, what we're about to talk about is some more advanced tools in terms of managing your money. Okay. It's important. This is important for you. If you're in the beginning and you do not have control over your credit cards, my recommendation for you at this point is to cut up your credit cards. And see, I'm long on the other side. When I first started out with Dave Ramsey, one of the first things I did was cut up my credit cards, so I could not get further into debt. Right. And I started working off paying my credit cards. If that's where you are, then this will be a little advanced for you. Right. There's still some things that we're going to talk about here that you're able to implement. And I want you to be aware of why we're doing what we're doing. OK, but if this is you, and if you do not have control, remember, what we're teaching you here is you have to manage your money. If your money is still managing you and you don't have complete control, then you have to do what you need to do in order to get control. And if the first thing is cutting up your credit cards and so you can get control of your spending, well, that's what you need to do. Okay. Tonight, what I want to talk to you about implementing and utilizing credit cards to your benefit. Okay. But you have to be disciplined. If you're not disciplined, then it's going to be to your detriment. The first thing we want to talk about is why individuals. So this I got from the Clark Howard website. You can see that. And clarkhoward.com. And it talks about why you never use your debit card to pay anything. Okay. Now, and that's one of the challenges with Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey will tell you the opposite. You use your debit card to pay everything. Okay. So we're not just locked in to one methodology. I seek out what the best practices are and why, understanding why we do these things. So debit cards, you have to understand, is an instrument from the bank. A debit card is basically like your cash to your checking account or savings account. And immediately when you utilize your debit card, it takes the money out of your account, right? Debit cards, which are tied to your checking account, let you purchase, avoiding the interest charges you may face with a credit card. But with the debit card, it goes directly to your bank account. When you spend money with your debit card, the money, most of you have debit cards, the money comes straight out of your account, right? So it's very limited management you have to do. Either the money's there or the money's not there. Now, it's just like writing a check. Either the money's there or the money's not there. You charge it and the money comes out. But here's some of the things you have to be aware about, okay? There are different protections that are available to you from the debit card perspective versus the credit card perspective. So with the debit card, you're responsible for $50 of unauthorized transactions. But here's the challenge for you. If someone steals your debit card, or if someone gets access to your debit card information and they charge against your debit card, that money comes out of your account immediately, right? If a vendor makes a mistake with your debit card, that money comes out of your account immediately. So say you charge $50 and they take out $150 or take out $500. That money comes out of your account immediately. And then you have the responsibility to report it. So say you lost your debit card and you're not even paying attention. The next thing you know, you have 2 days, 48 hours to report that, right? And your maximum burden goes up to $500. Okay. And then if you don't report it within 60 days, you have unlimited. You face potentially unlimited damages, right? So you have a risk in terms of liability to your account. And if any of you ever had issues where you have people debiting from your checking account and they made a mistake on their side, now you're dealing with the bank and the bank is not concerned because the bank has their money, right? You're having to deal with the ramifications of things that were done to you. And the bank a lot of times is not as helpful as they can be or should be. So sometimes if too much money was taken out and subsequently charges were rejected, now you may get penalties for the charges rejected, and the bank is charging you $35 for every bounce check, and now you have to interact with your bank. It becomes a mess. Okay. With credit cards, what happens is not tied directly to your money. It's tied directly to the credit card money, or credit card issuers' money. So MasterCard, Visa, American Express, Discover. It's their money that's put at risk, right? Right. See this here? You are not responsible for unauthorized charges under federal law if your credit card is stolen, right? You have liability protection, and you won't be held liable for more than $50 of unauthorized charges if your credit card is stolen. So you have liability protection. Many credit cards have added protection on top of that. Okay, so that's the first thing. That's the key thing. You have liability protection. Okay, talks about the hidden costs of debit cards, and it's basically the lack of consumer protection. So it's a totally different mindset, and you have to be very careful with your debit card and your PIN number, because if somebody gets access to that, basically they're getting access to your checking account. Okay, so it talks about here how Clark uses his debit card. So how Clark Howard uses his debit card, and basically how I use my debit card. It's only to get money out the bank, right? Only to get money out the bank. That's it. He never uses his debit card for purchases. And then he talks about 6 places you should never use your credit card: for airline tickets. And one of the things, and the reason why, so one of the things you have to understand, sometimes if you get a credit card associated with the airline, so I have an American Express, Delta Airlines card. They're tied together. When I buy tickets to fly, I use the Delta Airline American Express card. Why? It gives me, it'll give you further protections. A lot of times you get discounts because you're using your credit card, and I don't have to pay baggage fees. Okay, so there are benefits that come along with using your credit card, right? It also allows you to use independent ATMs, and it talks about here being careful of skimmers. Again, skimmers are, things that on ATMs that if they can skim your account number and PIN. But again, if it's tied to your checking account, the person, and I've had that happen to me. I traveled to California once, and I got gas. Next thing I know, when I got back home, there were charges. And again, I use my credit card all the time. There were charges on my credit card from California. I called up my credit card company and say, hey, I didn't make these charges, right? And they got it taken off. If that was my debit card, that money would have came straight out of my account. So you may think, oh, this will never happen to me. Oh, it's happened to me. It's happened to me. So again, so you don't use it when you're buying airlines. Don't use it when you're trying to get money out of the ATM, right? And normally I don't even do that anymore, because when you go to a third-party ATM, you have to pay a fee. The one I got caught on was pumping gas in California. Someone skimmed my credit card information, but because of that, once it showed up on my statement, I called them up and said, I didn't make this charge, and they got it off. They got it off the charge. And whenever you're buying things online, okay, again, you're exposing your checking account to potential harm. And one of the things you have to understand is when you're using your credit card online, you're protected from liability. Okay. Dining out in the United States of America, you give somebody your card, they take it to the back. You don't have, when we went to Paris, and they come to your table with the credit card machine and they run your credit card right in front of you. Okay. We don't do that all in every restaurant here. So they're unscrupulous people at times. They can steal your account information. And again, if it's tied directly to your checking account, you're exposed. And he talks about purchasing appliances. Credit cards will double your manufacturer's warranty. And again, if you're going to do that, sometimes it's better to use a card associated with the organization. So sometimes you get better benefits. So if you're buying appliances at Walmart, use a Walmart card. If you're buying at Lowe's, use a Lowe's card. Sometimes you get better benefits. For me, you've heard me talk about I use the same credit card for everything because it accumulates rewards points. Okay, and if you go to clarkhoward.com, you'll see it'll give you one of the things that are the best credit cards for you to use for reward points, because it adds up. If you have, if you're spending $1,000 to fly. And again, I know part of the reason I'm strategic in how I use my credit cards. I use the American Express to travel because I'm getting benefits. I use my other credit card for just about everything else because of the cash back. I'm factoring in the protected liability, the fact, I'm protected from anyone attaching themselves to my checking account, but I'm also getting a benefit. If you're going to spend money anyway, you might as well get a benefit from it. Okay, does that make sense to you? If you're going to spend money anyway, you might as well get a benefit from it. Okay, so this is why when you hear me talk, I was talking about this before, and I wanted to specifically hone in on it, specifically in the fact that in terms of managing your money, you want to utilize a credit card. Again, we talked about the fact that, this is advanced. If you're now coming into this and you're having challenges with your credit card and you have to eliminate credit card debt, you have to get to that. You have to deal with that first. I'm beyond that. And some of us are beyond that. Okay. I don't have credit card debt. I've paid off my credit card. I use a credit card as my debit card in essence. And whatever I charge, again, you managing your money, whatever I charge with my credit card, I don't carry balances. If I buy airline tickets, many a times the tickets are paid for before I travel because it's already budgeted. We're back to the budget. So it's the same thing. If you buy gas and you spend $200 a month in gas, okay, and every time you charge $50 comes out. Well, if you use your credit card, all you have to do is take that $50 and send it to the credit card company. You don't have to wait to the statement. Okay. You don't have to wait to the statement. If I have bill pay set up with my bank. I bank with Wells Fargo. I have bill pay set up. You have your credit card company set up. You send a statement in. You make the statement through bill pay. Well, if I do that, I can also, if I charge $50 this week in gas, I can send the credit card company the money. I don't have to wait till the end of the month. All I'm saying to you is, this is managing your resources. You're protecting yourself from a liability for your checking account, but you don't want to put yourself in a situation where, I have more money in my checking account. I can go out and buy something else. And now you're building up a balance on your credit card, but you're not managing your money properly. Okay, so this is key. Okay, these are advanced tools for individuals who want to get to the next level, next step. And one of the things you have to learn how to do is you have to learn how to protect yourself from liability. You have to learn so you don't have one situation happens where somebody drains your account and now you're negative. Okay, so this protects you. Using your credit card over your debit card protects you from that. Okay, and Pastor Naja, I don't know if there's any people. I didn't set up the Facebook, so I don't on my phone, so I don't know if anybody have any questions in the chat. So let me know if they have any questions, or else I'm going to move on.
Okay, right now I don't see any questions. I just see comments.
Okay, so if you have any questions, just bring it up, put it in the chat as we're going along, and we'll address them. Okay, so we're talking about credit cards. Utilizing your credit card as a debit card specifically for liability protection and receiving the reward points, and it also will help you with your credit report. So now I want to talk about another article I saw on with Clark Howard is the rules. His 7 rules for using credit cards. So one of the questions he first points out is, how many credit cards should you have? Okay, and he said at least 2. Okay, 2 and from different companies, because now, we're factoring in your credit report. Utilizing your credit card and paying it, utilizing your credit card as your debit card and getting to the place where you're paying it off every month will positively affect your credit score. Okay, so utilizing your credit card as your debit card, taking the money, and even if you still have a balance, right? But take it, but you have enough to buy your gas and the things, okay, you would normally do, and you're just Instead of it coming directly out of your checking account, you take that money and you send it to the credit card company. Okay. You continually paying down your balance will increase, and utilizing your credit card will increase your credit score. He talks about having at least 2 different companies because, again, for the purposes of benefiting your credit score. Okay. And he says, in case here, in case one company decides to kick you off for whatever reason, you could be the greatest customer, and these companies have an agenda of their own. And in case one company decides to terminate their business with their credit card, you can turn around and now you have another credit card. So you're not tied to one company. Okay. Then he talks about picking the right credit cards.
Before you move forward, honey, there
What?
was a question that popped up.
Okay.
The question is from Dawn Thompson. When is it a good time to use your debit card?
Yeah. The one good time to use your debit card is when you're going to your bank to get money out of your account, to take cash. Let's see how that works. No, that's it. Otherwise, if you any other time, you're opening up yourself to liability. Right? Any other time, you're opening up your checking account to liability. So all you're doing, remember, all you're doing is utilizing your credit card as your debit card. Instead of when you use your debit card, the money comes straight out of your checking account. Now we're putting another layer in. You use your debit card you use your credit card as your debit card. Now, when you use your credit card, it's your responsibility to pay the credit card company. The money does not come directly out of your checking account, but what that does, it provides you liability protection. And also what that does is it because you're utilizing your credit card, it increases your credit score, and it allows you to get reward points. What am I missing? What's so funny?
Wait. Fiedland put a question in the chat. He said, is it smart to give your wife a credit card?
That depends on the type of wife that you have. If your wife is a spender and does not have the self-control in terms of being able to spend, then that might not be a good idea. Okay. But if your wife is someone who's disciplined with her finances, right, and not a spender, does not go just spend frivolously or to comfort themselves when they're not feeling well, then it's just like any other tool in their wallet, right? In case of emergency, she has the resources that she needs. I can't hear you. You mute yourself.
Oh, he said she's a consumer with a capital C.
Well,
Jessica's gonna get you, Fiedland.
Then that she needs to be under that. She needs to be taking these classes, and that would not be a good idea.
Oh goodness!
Or if you do that, make sure it has a set limit that they can't go over. Any other questions?
No. Let me see. No. Nope.
Okay. So again, you pick the right types of credit cards. There are several that he talks about here that will give you PDF, so it keeps popping this thing up here. But that will give you 2% cash back on every purchase. Okay, so you want a credit card that when you're using works for you as well. He also talks about potentially using a Costco card or a Sam's Club card. So it's tied to a store. And a lot of times those stores, even though it's a credit card, right, you'll get benefits if you shop at Sam's, then get a Sam's Visa card. If you shop at Costco, get a Costco MasterCard card, right? So a lot of times those cards give you greater rewards points when you shop with them. Same thing with travel credit cards. Like I said, I have an American Express tied to Delta. We live in Georgia, right? So Delta is the major airlines here. Anywhere we fly, I fly Delta. Some people, they try to save money, and I don't think I've ever flown Spirit Air in my life, right? I'd rather pay the extra money to get on Delta because 9 times out of 10, I'm going to get home, right? Sometimes these other airlines, they cancel flights and stuff like that. When we were in Turks and Caicos, right? We got on Delta, and Spirit canceled their flights, and they had a whole bunch of people waiting outside because the terminal was too small to hold everybody. So, okay.
One more question, honey.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on business credit cards?
Okay. Yes. So if you have a business, you should have a business credit card. It's the same thing. Okay. I have a business credit card, and I charge everything for my business. I tried to charge a down payment on a car once on a credit card. They wouldn't take it. I had the money. I wanted the reward points. Yeah. Again, if I'm going to spend money, but yeah, all businesses, large and small. Sometimes you work for a corporation, and if you're in the C-suite, you'll have a company credit card, and but if you travel, so I travel for companies, and you use your own credit card, and you just put in your T&E vouchers, right? Travel and entertainment vouchers, and you get reimbursed. But if you have a business, you should have a business credit card, because that, number one, that builds the credit rating for your business. It also helps you to separate personal expenses and business expenses. So at the end of the year, so I have a Chase business credit card. You can do the same thing with American Express. At the end of the year, I just go to the website. I just did it when I filed my taxes. And then I get a spending report for the entire year. And it will break out for you where you spent your money. So you'll say you spent, so on your taxes, you put travel and entertainment. Well, they'll tell you spent $20,000 on travel and entertainment. You spent $15,000 on conferences. It breaks out for you the categories where you spent your money. So all you have to do is plug it into your taxes. You don't have to figure out, the other thing too with a credit card is we have to keep receipts. Business owners have to keep receipts. Well, if you charge 99.99% of everything on your credit card, the receipts are on the credit card company. You don't have to keep the physical receipt. Many times you guys are walking around with physical receipts. We have files. I have files. You have files. But I also have the backup of everything being categorized for me through the credit card company. So if I want to check my travel, I just log on to American Express, print out my travel for the year, right? I want to check what I spend on my business. I go to Chase, and it'll give me a spending report for the year. So yes. If you have a company, if you're an entrepreneur, you have a company, you want to have a company credit card as well as a personal credit card, because you want to be able to separate your expenses. What happens is you challenge yourself, and you make your bookkeeping a lot more difficult when you are utilizing your personal credit cards to do company business.
Got some more questions, honey. They're flowing in.
Keep them. Keep
So one question was, is it smart to get rid of a credit card at a high rate?
Okay, so we're going to talk about that. So we talked about this a little bit last month. It is extremely smart to get rid of a higher rate credit card. So if you are the type of individuals who get offers in the mail, so if you have a 29.99% credit card, so you have $2,500 on that, and say Capital One sent you an invitation in the mail to get a 0% credit card for 12 months, 16 months, 18 months, 24 months, and to transfer what you would do is I would open the Capital One, put in the transfer check, transfer my information from the transfer my balance from the 29.99 to the zero interest credit card for the amount of time that it's available to me. And so any dollar you spend now, instead of 30 cents being taken for interest, you have 12 months or 18 months or the amount of time where all the money goes to principal. The other thing that you do, once you do that, you leave the high interest credit card, you leave that open. Okay, so what that does on your credit report, it shows that you have available credit that you are not using. And then at the end of the 12 months, the 18 months, whatever, I suspect someone else is going to send you a zero interest credit card. You transfer from Capital One to the other new company, and then you close out the original company. So you still have the credit. You close out the original one, which has already been zeroed out, and now you still have two more. So you don't have to rack up a whole lot of credit. Okay. And again, what I do is once I got the Capital One, I cut up the old one. So there's no way for me to go charge anything on that. Okay. That is not the purpose. The purpose is not to charge anything. The purpose primarily is to, when I pay down my bills or pay down my credit, the principal is paid down faster. So yes, it would be very wise of you to transfer your balances to a zero interest credit card. The thing that you have to factor in is there's a fee to transfer the balance. So you have to do the math to make sure it's beneficial to you to do the transfer.
Okay. I don't know, you may have mentioned this, but there was a question. What card do you recommend for a business credit card? Is there a preferred?
No. Again, I would send you to clarkhoward.com. I'm not here to recommend companies. Okay. So American Express Business, Chase Business, Capital One Business, all of these companies, they have business credit cards, and they have offers, right? They normally have offers for individuals to entice them to utilize their business, right? Because they're going to make money off of you, but what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're getting something from them. So what are they offering you? Liability protection. Like I said, the American Express Delta credit card, that offers me, I know what it offers me. So I know why I have it. So there is no the best, right? There is no the best. Because each and one of them are doing a very similar thing. They're extending your credit. How much credit do you need? So if you need $50,000 worth of credit, and this company is offering you $5,000, then that doesn't benefit you. You want to find a credit card company that's going to give you what you need. Okay. So it's just like anything else in business. You have to find out what's best for you. I would send you to clarkhoward.com or any other credit. You can Google what's the best credit card. There are many portal websites out there that will break down credit card companies for you and tell you what's the best one for you for what you're trying to accomplish.
Okay. So I have another one, and I'm not sure if this has been answered in your explanations within the other two. The question is, what if you have a business credit card for payroll, but it's a huge percentage of the credit spend? Should you get two credit cards or keep it all on one?
You have a credit card for payroll. That means you're paying people off of a credit card?
I'm thinking so.
Because if that is in fact the case, you would be paying it off every month. You should be paying your credit card off every month, especially if it's business, right? You wouldn't be carrying that over. But again, if it was me, I probably would get a second credit card. And the reason being is if I know this one credit card is designated for payroll, at the end of the year, when I'm trying to track my expenses, I would know this one credit card, when I print it out, all this is payroll related. And then this other credit card over here, right? So like I have a credit card specifically for travel. right? So I know, again, it's easier for me to manage because if I go, let's say it's Chase. If I go to my Chase Business Credit, this was my payroll. If I go to American Express, this was my travel. You see? So personally, what I would do, I would get a second credit card just for easier management. But that's me.
Okay. And then there's another one, but I think you kind of answered this with going possibly to clockhoward.com or Googling the credit unions business credit cards better. And again, I guess you have to just kind of think about what your
you guys got to stop thinking better. Credit unions offer you things that banks do not, but the cards that they're going to offer you, you have to. Every credit union is not the same. And again, so like a MasterCard, a Visa, and American Express, they are specifically credit card companies. You know, every bank has their own credit card as well. And you got to remember, is it a true credit card? If it's a true credit card and not tied to your account, okay. But it's just a matter of sit down and read what they're offering you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's just what are you, when you say is it better? How is it better? Is it a bigger credit rating, credit limit? Is it a lower interest rate? Is it a greater rewards? You know, when you say is it better, I can't answer that question because I don't have the
criteria. Yeah.
The contracts, the credit card literature in front of me to compare. You have to compare. That's why you go to some of these websites where the comparison's already been done for you.
Yeah. It's really based upon what you're needing for your business.
Well, yeah, but you're utilizing a credit card because you need credit.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So basically it's a short-term loan that you should choose to pay back in full.
Okay.
Any other questions?
We're caught up for the moment.
Okay, so we're still talking about the 7 rules of credit cards, right? Clark Howard, have at least 2 credit cards. You gotta do a little research to pick the right credit cards. Right, and this is the key here. This is why I'll say it again. If you're not at this place, if you're financially challenged, if you're still consumer mindset, right? Every time you get a little bit of money, you want to spend it, then you don't want to be here. You have to be able to you have to be disciplined here, right? You have to have the ability to, like right now, as I sit here today, I mean, my business credit card is $35,000. Okay, that's my business. And then I have personal credit cards, but I'm not running out spending $35,000. I'm not spending out, I'm not maxing out my credit cards because I'm managing my money. I use my credit cards as it's a part of my business. It's a tool. I use it for a purpose, right? Instead of using my debit card, I use my credit card. At the end of the month, when the bill comes in, I pay it off in full, right? Whether it's $1,000 or $10,000, it's paid in full. Okay, because the money was there. Okay, the money was sitting in the checking account. So if I have a rental property, I got to buy appliances. I'm back and forth at Home Depot all the time. At the end of the month, I may have spent $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10,000, but the money was there. It was already sitting in the checking account. Okay, I just did not take it out of the checking account. No, I used the credit card. I got the reward points. Now at the end of the month, I paid the balance off in full. Okay, I don't carry balance every month. It just breaks down for you how your credit score is calculated. So it talks about keep in mind the length of time you held your credit card also helps your credit score. So the credit cards that I've had for a very long time. I can't even tell you how long I've had these credit cards. So I am out of the stage of opening and closing, to transfer things. So the credit cards I have now is the credit cards I have. When people offer me, like I went to, it was funny. I went to the Walgreens across the street from the church and the guy behind the counter had this white lady in front of me, and he offered her a Walgreens Visa card. So I was waiting to see if he offered me the same thing, but he didn't offer it to me. She declined him anyway. I was just waiting to say.
Stop it. That is not right.
No, it is. If you understand, it's not a racial thing; it's a demographic thing. Women are the primary consumers in this country. I think women own 70% of the consumer debt. So if you are a company trying to get people to get your credit card, you would offer it to women before you would offer it to men.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
It's not a racial thing. It's a
okay.
It's a gender thing. But I was just waiting to see if he offered it to me. I mean, declined it anyway. But so we talk about this, right? When you're transferring for 0 interest credit cards, you want to know your interest rate, because a lot of times that's what we don't factor in. We don't factor in the interest rate. We spend the money and then we pay the minimum. And if you read your credit card would tell you with $5,000, you pay the minimum, you're going to be paying this for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
It tells you on the credit card how long you're going to take to pay it off. For many of us, we don't even read the credit card statement. We just look at whatever the minimum is, and that's what we send in, right? Because as long as we're making the minimum, we're up to date. And this is so true right here. It's shocking how few people actually know what the interest rates that they have on their cards are. Again, back to managing your money, right? Managing your money, you have to know where your money is going. And that means you have to know what the interest rates are, right? Don't use balance transfer cards for new purchases. Okay. One of the things you have to factor in is it talks about this, that it takes into account how long you've had the credit card. So if you're getting credit cards in all the time, you want to buy something and you're just transferring it. No, you want to be mindful. Okay. You want to be mindful. When you're going to do a balance transfer, number one, read. Okay, because what happens is you can end up in a worse situation that you were in before, because you did not read the requirements of the card. Okay, so what you're trying to do, you're trying to put yourself in a situation where you are going to come out ahead, that you're going to be benefited. You don't want to put yourself in a worse situation. Okay, so don't just go out and buy something and then you're going to transfer it, right? Don't do that. You see what it says here? So if you're going to do if you're going to get a credit card and for 0% interest as an advantage, don't just go out now and use that credit card and make a whole bunch of new purchases. Because a lot of times the credit card, the 0% interest is for the transfer, not for you to go out and buy new. So you get a 0% interest credit card, 18 months if you transfer the balance, right? All you saw was 0% interest. You go out and you spend something, you buy something, you get the statement, and it's 25.99%. You're trying to figure out what happened. I thought it was 0% interest. No, it was 0% interest on the transfer. So you have to read. You really have to read, because you're dealing with contracts here. Somebody's offering you something. It's a contract. You need to read. You need to understand exactly what's being offered to you. That's important. And then finally, what you keep the old credit line open, because what that will do, it will boost your credit score, because now you have credit that you're not using. Okay. So one of the things it talks about here, and I got this from my credit union. So I got a credit union debit card and I never used it. And then they sent me something in the mail and say, if you don't use it, we're going to close it. So sometimes if you have credit cards that are inactive, so sometimes you got to go to Starbucks and buy a cup of coffee with that credit card just to keep it active once every 6 months, or for Pastor Nedge or Dunkin' Donuts. Right? So be mindful of that. Sometimes the credit card company will reach out to you and say, hey, we haven't seen activity on this card in such and such time. If you don't, do you still have the card? If you don't use the card, we're going to close it. Okay. So be mindful of that. Okay. Any other questions on that?
Don't see any in the feeds. Let me check Instagram and YouTube. Don't see any.
And I'm going to reiterate this. I'm going to reiterate this. I'm going to reiterate this. Okay. This is important. These are for people who have gotten control of their credit card spending habits and understand you're on the trajectory of trying to get yourself out of debt, because getting more credit when you haven't first disciplined yourself not to spend will only get you in more trouble. That is why Dave Ramsey is almost religious to the point of ridiculousness when it comes to credit. And people make fun of him because somebody asked him the credit, the question, if somebody gave you $1 million worth of credit, would you take it? And he said no. And people look at him like he's crazy because, again, Dave Ramsey is almost like an alcoholic who's gone through the 12-step program, right? And he never wants to go there again, right? And the thing you have to understand as a mature adult living in the society in which we live, if you have disciplined yourself, right? Credit is just like cash. It's a tool. It's a tool. And you use it to your benefit, primarily the cash back aspect of it. If you spend in business, if I spend $100,000 cash, at the end of the year, I just have whatever I purchased with the $100,000, right? But if I spend $100,000 with credit card and I pay it off at the end of the month, at the end of the year, I'm going to have the $100,000 plus the 2%, which is $200, right? So I'm going to have $200 of Panera bread for spending money, which you don't get with cash and you don't get with a debit card. Okay, the debit card also does not benefit you from a credit reporting standpoint. The cash doesn't benefit you from a credit reporting standpoint. Okay, and those of you who know in business, or those of you know when you go to purchase large items, like if I'm thinking to buy a car, I never worry about it because I walk in there with an 800 plus credit score. See, it's a different dynamic, right? It's a different dynamic, especially like when I went to purchase the Porsche. I went to my credit union. I got approval from the credit union. So walking into the car dealership, I already had approval. I already had the car. So the negotiation is totally different. It's like, they asked me what my interest rate was from the credit union so they can meet or beat the interest rate because they want the money. So no, I don't need you. You have the car. I already have the financing. I have the down payment. I have the money. This is just paperwork now. They're not calling anybody to see if they can find. No. We ain't staying here all day. Fill out the paperwork. Give me the car and let me go. No, you got to clean it. They got to clean the car and stuff like that. But other than that, it's a totally different way of doing transactions. And the final thing before we leave tonight, I wanted to throw this in there as well. So when you have a credit card a long time, one of the things you can do is you can increase your credit limit. Increasing your credit limit, again, helps you because the larger credit limit that you have and the fact that you're not using it okay, increases your credit score. So you have $50,000 worth of credit, but you're not using it. That shows you're reliable, and it'll increase your credit score. And there are multiple ways you can do that. It talks about the fact that many of you on your app, if you have nowadays, for every company has an app, right? You download the app, you tie your app to the credit card. You could go on the app and request an increase, or go to the website and request an increase, okay? Or you can just call them up. Go on the back of the card, call them up. I remember some of them, I think American Express just sent me. That's the other thing too. The third thing is they'll just send it to you. Okay. As you build your credit profile, as you build your credit score, they'll just increase your credit line. Certain things they'll just ask you. I want to know if you have an increase. One thing I want to point out to you here is that you should be a card holder for at least 6 months and should not have crested an increase in the past 6 months. So maybe once a year, you call them up and you ask for an increase just for the sake of doing it, because you can and you got it like that. You know, again, it helps your credit score to have the credit and not use it. Okay. But caveat, these are just tools. These are tools, right? These are tools.
You have some individuals in the chat who, when you were talking about the car, going into the car dealership, they said it was easy in and out at the dealership, and they said it was a great feeling for sure. We also have a viewer, one of my mentees from Cambodia, who is joining. Ya is on the line from Cambodia. Thank you for joining us tonight. It's morning time for them, but nighttime for us. I think there is, okay, so there is another question. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
If you have the cash emergency fund of $1,000 and 3 months reserve set aside, but an interest-free large balance, should you pause paying yourself in savings and use all the funds to pay down the big balance ASAP? Or should you always pay yourself?
Yeah, you always pay yourself. So the reason you don't do that is because in case something happens, you lose the cash at hand. Okay. So if I understand correctly, you have the emergency fund of $1,000. You have the 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, and now you have a big balance credit card or a big balance purchase with interest. Correct?
Let me see. If you have the cash emergency fund of $1,000 and 3 months reserve, so you have 3 months reserve and the cash emergency fund of $1,000, but an interest-free large balance.
Yeah. No.
Should you pause paying yourself in savings and use?
It's an interest-free. It's an interest-free large balance. So because it's interest-free, everything
credit
you do,
card. Interest-free.
You're paying principal. Okay. Think of it this way. Let's just say your company goes out of business tomorrow, right? And they don't give you a severance. They don't give you a package. You're going to need that 3 to 6 months, right? So see, you're focused on, because what would happen now, you would have to turn around and use the credit card to live. And that's what you're trying to avoid. Okay. You're trying to avoid that. So the emergency fund in the 3 to 6 months is your rainy day fund. In case it starts to rain, you don't have to rely on anything. That's in place. So now what you're doing is you're in a snowball effect and you're paying down the large balance bill. You're paying that down. Okay. And if you're talking about if you're saying, should I stop paying myself first, right? The question is zero interest. What's the difference? So if zero interest, if I continue to pay myself first, I'm going to pay this off in 12 months. If I continue, if I don't pay myself first, I'm going to continue. I can pay it off in 6 months, right? If those are the decisions you're trying to make, okay, it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. It depends on what my comfort level is, right? If I'm comfortable, either way, if I'm disciplined, either way, I'm going to end up in the same place at the end of the year. Do you see that?
So then there's another part. It says,
go ahead.
Will my limit decrease with a decrease in income? Because it says they get the question of updating their my income.
Yeah. So you would not go and request an increase on the credit card if your salary decreased. Again, remember, we're talking about tools here. These are advanced tools. So you would not put yourself out there to interact with the credit card company to get an increase in your credit limit if you don't have the financial backing to do that. Why would they give you that? You wouldn't contact them at all. You would maintain the status quo, because people will still be sending you credit card offers in the mail, even if your salary decreased, if and when you start paying down your bills. But to the person that we were talking about, if you think about it, if you do the math, just do the math. You're going to end up the same place at the end of the year. Say you have a $12,000 bill, right? You've been paying yourself $1,000 and you're paying the bill $1,000. At the end of the year, the bill is going to be paid off and you're going to have $12,000. Mm-hmm. Now, say you stop paying yourself the $1,000 and you paid $2,000 to the bill. Well, in 6 months, the bill would be paid off. And then you would start paying $2,000 to yourself. At the end of the year, you would have the $12,000. It's the exact same thing. It's just, how do you want to implement it?
I thought it was part of us. That was a different question from a different person. That was my mistake.
It's fine. It's fine. But again, if you do the math, if it's interest free, if there's no interest, and so everything you pay goes to principal, right? It's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. No matter how you pay it, eventually you'll end up in the same place.
Lorraine, did you get the answer to your question? I'm hoping, because yours was, she said she gets the question of updating my income and never answer. Then her question is, will my limit decrease with a decrease in income?
No, the bank does not interact with individuals like that. So once you get a limit from the bank, seldom do they decrease it, because they don't have access to your income information.
Yeah,
you have to communicate to them that your salary has decreased. So they don't do that. And as long as you're paying the bill on time, they don't care. That's what they're concerned about. Because remember, if you have a balance, that really, if you want to know the truth, the credit card company is happy when you have a balance and you're paying the minimum on time.
Exactly, because they're getting more and more and more money in the interest.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's when they're happiest. Okay.
Exactly. So, whenever you're ready, I have your cash app thing ready.
We're finishing up. So you see here, what happens is the pros about the higher credit limit is percentage. So if you have $1,000 credit limit and you buy a $500 television, you're using 50% of your potential credit availability. But if that was $2,000, you would be only using 25% of your credit availability. Okay. So the more credit you have and the less money you use, the better it is for your credit scores. Okay. The cons are making sure that the credit card company is concerned, because especially when you have high balances, they don't want to put you in a situation, okay, where you hurt yourself. Right. So credit card companies have, from a liability standpoint, they don't want to put you in a situation when you already have a high balance that may not extend that, because you're going to put yourself in more debt, and they don't want to do that. So again, when we're talking about credit cards, the caveat is you're a disciplined person. You're in a position to get out of debt. You're working on paying off your debts, right? And having credit is not an invitation to you to spend more money. This is important. This is important because this is teaching from a negative to a positive. If you're not at that place, all you will hear is, I can get more money to spend, and you'll put yourself in at a greater deficit. And that's not what we're trying to do with these lessons. What we're trying to do is help you understand how individual with means manage their resources, and to help you get to be an individual with means. Okay. And credit is just a tool like anything else. Okay. Especially remember that compared to the debit card is liability protection, right? That's the number one thing credit card offers you, is liability protection. It severs your transactions from your bank accounts. Okay. And that's important because if anyone gets access to your debit card, they don't have access, your credit card, they don't have access to your bank accounts. Okay. And then the other aspects of the information that we talked about. So, any other questions?
Nope, I don't see any in the Instagram or YouTube or any more on Facebook.
Okay, so then again, this is what we want to talk about this month. Next month, we want to talk about credit repair. So I'm doing some things a little different than we would normally do from a financial standpoint, especially a church standpoint. So we're doing research and we're going a little deeper into things to help you, because a lot of times individuals go out and spend money to hire somebody to do things that they can do for themselves. None of this. We live in an age of technology. We live in an age of information. So all this information is out there and available to us. So that's one of the things we're trying to do. So I'm gonna ask Pastor Ninja to put up the Cash App. Hopefully, what we're trying to do is make these classes valuable to you, information that you would actually have to go out. And if you went to a financial class, if you paid for a financial class, these were some of the same information that you would be getting. So that's why we're not just doing surface level, but we're trying to go advanced, but we have to put the caveats in place, because not everybody is going to be prepared to be able to do some of the things we're talking about and take advantage of some of the things we're talking about. But all we're asking is that you invest in what we're doing. We're not asking for a lot. We're not asking for $100. We're not asking for $50. You know, we have like 40, 50, 60 people. And we know these classes, when we go back and look at the views, sometimes it's 500, 600, 700 people that are seeing this information. If you're seeing this information, if you would just invest just $10, that's all we ask. Some of you can do more, some of you can do less, but we're not asking for a lot, right? Just because hopefully you're seeing the time that we're investing to get you the information that will be beneficial to you. We're not just taking information that's theoretical. No, this is practical information, what we've used and what other people like a Dave Ramsey or a Clark Howard uses. I was watching an advertisement for creditcard.org or a credit servicing company, and they were talking about doing certification. I was looking about doing a certification. We could have done a Dave Ramsey certification, because the information we're presenting to you, we know is the same information that's certified financial planners who are certified under Dave Ramsey does as well. The reason we didn't do the certification is because then we wouldn't be able to teach the credit card aspect of it, because he doesn't believe in credit cards. So I want you to understand the information that you're getting is not something that, we just made up. No, this is solid information that I know without a shadow of a doubt, because I've seen it apply to individuals' lives in the church and outside the church. If you apply it to your life, it will work for you. And all we're asking is that you recognize the time that has been invested, and then you invest for that time. So you see the Cash App information on the screen, and it's just if God moves on your heart, just invest. And we thank you for spending this time with us, and we pray that it has been beneficial to you.
Yes. Yes and amen.
Yes and amen. And we just hope if there are any other questions before we sign off, just put them in the chat right now and let us know.
Don't see any. Checking YouTube.
And you can do us a favor as well. This is the last thing. You can share this information. Okay.
Yeah, share the broadcast. Yeah.
You can share the broadcast. You can share the information. We're not taking a lot of time, and hopefully individuals who are watching will be benefited by it. But you can share the information, and again, let them know what we're going to be discussing next month. April, we're going to be discussing on credit repair. We're going to do the research. Already got some information for you. Already purchased some information. So again, we're investing in you, and all we're asking is that you invest in us.
Yes, April sessions, credit repair. I'm typing it in the chat. All right. Well, you are welcome. Everyone is chiming in saying thank you. You are welcome. So share the broadcast, tag if you know individuals who have even expressed an interest about just really trying to realign and get their finances in order, because they're tired to either living from paycheck to paycheck, robbing Peter to pay Paul, whoever they are. So these are
They're
just
disciples.
Just like my husband has said, discipline is a large part of being able to get from where you are right now. Hey, Sierra Dunn. Hey, Sierra. Discipline is part of plays a large part in getting from where you are to where you desire to be. So I'm thankful that my husband, Pastor Curtis, decided to take you month by month, and it gives you time to assimilate the information. You can go back and listen. So it's easier to find these sessions, these times of impartation. Hey, Sierra, it's good to see you online. I hope to see you in person real soon. You can go back and go to my YouTube channel. They're all there. They're Road to Financial Freedom. You'll see the graphic, and they're labeled as session 1, session 2, session 3. So you can follow them in sequence. Huh?
What is the YouTube channel?
And they just go to my YouTube channel, because they're all.
What is?
Oh, what is it? You just have to go to Nedra Buckmeyer.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not anything different. It's my name, and you go to it, and you can see the sessions that are there recorded on my channel, and you can go back and actually, if you've missed 1 and 2, you can go back and watch them as well. Also, if you haven't gotten your budget packet, which we started out the session with, to work you through to find out where you are, what you owe, and so you can kind of put those things in there just to see where you are as it relates to owing, so that you can begin to figure out what it is that you need to do in relation to your particular finances. So definitely you can do that. The Bitly link is available for you. It's in the post from today's, what I announced today when we were going live. It's in there. It's a Bitly link for that. So you can click on that and be able to retrieve that document. It is for free. So we definitely want you to, when we get to the celebration in January 2025, we want to be able to celebrate where you've come, what you have been able to unload as in debt or repair credit or pay off a credit card. We're going to celebrate. So looking forward to seeing us on the other side. But as we go through step by step, remember it's a process. You didn't get to where you are if you are in debt, or if your finance is a little topsy-turvy. You didn't get there overnight. So just make the effort to take the information, just kind of understand it, apply it, and walk it out. So we look forward to seeing you in April. We'll be back April. It's the fourth Tuesday of the month. And it is going to be April the 23rd, April 23rd at 7:30 p.m. We have someone else signing in, I see, from Cambodia. Blessings to you. We're about to sign off, but you can absolutely go to my YouTube channel, Nedra Buckmeyer, and you can follow up, or you can follow up here on Facebook, but it's easier to find on YouTube because you can go right to it as opposed to Facebook is so much other postings on there. So we thank you so much. Honey, is there anything else that you want to say before we close out?
Have a good night.
Have a great night, everyone. We thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next month, April the 23rd at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a great night.